They finally did it, those crazy bastards. Am I an MFF expert? Tier 4 bingo. This is interesting. So they have a new community event. And what I mean by they finally did it is they finally put tier 4 materials. They're probably not going to do this again for a while, but it's a good sign that they're starting to do it. Putting tier 4 materials as the community event rewards. Now, if you guys don't know, these community events, they're done out of the game. Ew, yucky. And you usually have to like be on a computer to do this kind of stuff. Maybe you can do it on your phone. It's probably a little bit more tedious, but whatever. All you have to do here is you download this photo or you find a way to edit it online. Maybe you copy and paste it into like a paint window, whatever. And you circle the tier 4s that you have like a bingo board. And then you post it. And there's a new event tab called Tier 4 Bingo, and you can see people are posting it with their character, their player ID, not your. I don't know if you can use the code there, but just post with your name, right? Your name. Oh no, it's not your name. It's your ID. Okay, yeah. So they want your ID, which is weird because they don't. Anyway, whatever. Anyways, you get tier 4 materials. Bum, ba, da, ba. It's not much. It's very, very little. 30 carbo, 30 tolofaltine, and 100 boost points. It's very, very little, but it's good that they're finally doing it. So, to celebrate this, I thought I would rank all of the tier 4s in Marvel Future Fight, because people have been asking me to do this again, to re-rank all of the tier 4s. So that's what we're going to do, rather than me sitting here for 8 minutes trying to do the bingo slowly. When I only have 33 tier 4s. There are 56 tier 4s in the game right now. I have 33. So if we do 33 divided by 56, I have about 59% of the tier 4s in the game. So just so you know, you don't really need more than half of the tier 4s in the game. Just genuinely speaking. However, we're going to do this thing a little bit differently. I'm not going to change what these mean from S tier down to D tier. We are going to just rank them as is using a classic tier list ranking. So D tier are essentially nearly unusable tier 4s. They're not really unusable technically, because there's no such thing as an unusable tier 4, because tier 4 is the highest tier and it's the most powerful. But these characters, in comparison to other tier 4s, are really going to weigh down your account and essentially provide very little, if any, value whatsoever. So I actually think Cyclops is by himself. I think Cyclops is by himself in that. C tier is a little bit better than D tier, obviously, and this is where you're gonna see a lot more tier 4s coming in. Professor X, Ant-Man, they're usable, but unfortunately, by today's standards, they have many better. There are many better options out there, and what they do is not special in any way, shape, or form. They can still do content for you, but again, there are other tier 4s or even possibly level 80 tier 3s that can do it better, that can do it faster, that can do it more easily, right? They're easier to play, etc., etc. In general, these characters also usually have the additional sort of coincidental plan or sort of like idea that it's just like the fact that their uniforms are old. So it's not really a coincidence there. Existing tier 4s, when they get new uniforms, they tend to be much higher on the tier list, because the new uniforms make them a lot better. So yeah. I think I'm going to put Iron Man in B tier for now, because he's actually still pretty good. And Iron Man is one of the rare characters who changes allegiances, so you get the opportunity to have a blast villain as well. Now, when I say blast villain, I mean that in the loosest terms. He's not competing with Magneto or anything like that, who I would probably put in S tier as a tier 4. But he's still, more useful than some of these other tier 4s here. Shadow Shell, really only used now in niche PvP situations. Again, there are definitely better options than her, but she deserves to be there. Blue Dragon, I would say, is probably in the same boat as Shadow Shell, but she's a little bit better. Overall, I would say she probably has a little bit more value for your account than Iron Man. However, keep in mind, certain tier 4s are much more new player friendly than others, so I'll try to highlight those. Despite the fact that Iron Man is dated, because he was the first tier 4. He's very, very dated. He's over 2 years old now. I actually think he's a better tier 4 for new players than Blue Dragon. And the reason for that is that he, although they both need tier 4, Blue Dragon needs, for example, Sunbird to do anything in PvP. So you don't really unlock her PvP value until you pair her with Sunbird, who's paywall, right? And then on top of that, she's available for a lot of stages that a lot of other really good characters are available for that you can also build, like, you know, Sharon Rogers, Luna Snow, whatever, Spider-Gwen. Whereas Iron Man, he's available for different stages, but also, like I said, he gives you that flexibility of being a blast villain. But he's also kind of hard to play, so maybe I'm just kind of glazing him a little too hard. Anyways, we will continue here. Angel is pretty bad, I would say. He has the support buff for Otherworld Battle, but honestly, like, yeah, I honestly want to do this. Yeah, I think that makes more sense. I'm going to be very harsh with this ranking. He has the buff, which is nice, but Invisible Woman is just a much better version of him. And I don't think Invisible Woman deserves to be an A tier. So because of that, maybe Magneto is A tier in that case. But yeah, because she deserves to be here in B tier, he really doesn't deserve to be anywhere closer than the top of C tier. Who else do we have from a long time ago? Spider-Man at this point, there are just better characters who do it better than he does. I would say he probably deserves to be somewhere here. Again, he's really only usable for like PvP unless you slap a brilliant CTP on him and then do some funny stuff. Miles is probably better than Iron Man. Yeah, Miles probably deserves to be here. He's just a very, very strong PvE character. Very similar to Human Torch. Just an insanely strong PvE character. These can kind of flip-flop. It depends on... I think Human Torch is available for more stages, but they essentially do the exact same thing. I'm now doubting why Iron Man is here at all. Maybe he should be here realistically, more realistically. But okay, let's continue on. This tier list is harder because I just have to rank them raw, but it's better because you get a better understanding of where these characters rank, in my mind at least. Black Panther, he's good, but there's just better characters. Yeah, they're just better characters at this point in time. Better combat types. Gladiator is a better combat type. He's harder to play, unfortunately, but he's more meta for more content. He hits harder, etc., etc. Kind of no surprise there. He's native tier 2. Reed has been disappointing. I would probably put him in low B tier. Again, he just needs too much investment to really be good. Reed is sort of like what I was saying about Shadow Shell and Blue Dragon, where you need Franklin, you need the artifact, you need the tier 4, blah, 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 blah. Just too much. Way too much. Mystique, same sort of shit. I know she's a tier 4 support, which is valuable, but very hard to play and has just been recently outclassed by Gwenpool. I'm actually very high on Gwenpool, so I'm going to get crazy here and put her in A tier. Yeah, I know that her icon is a little bit bigger. Her forehead looks absolutely massive. She looks like Cassandra Nova. But yeah, I think she's actually very strong. And I think she's a very attractive option for new players because of the fact that she has Pierce, right? So you're getting a tier 4, you're getting Pierce. I don't know how many stages she's available for World Boss, so that may actually hold her back because she only has one ability tag. Speaking of very, very good for new players, I think Hulk is one of the best tier 4s for new players. I'm actually going to put Hulk in S tier. And the reason why I'm going to put Hulk in S tier, I may be glazing him a little bit. Glazing is, you know, Gen Alpha speak for, like, exaggerating, but being biased, as it were. The reason why I'm putting Hulk up there in S tier is because he's super easy to play, which is a big, big plus. He's fun to play. He's very, very tanky, which translates into PvP and PvE, right? Because if you're bad at the game, you don't know how to dodge properly, him being tanky is going to help you out tremendously. And then on top of that, he is best for, or nearly best for multiple pieces of content, being ABX and ABL as a combat villain. So he's got that going for him. He's got that meta-ness. But then you can also translate that into World Boss and GBR and stuff like that. He's not the fastest for GBR, but he's certainly usable. And like I said, you can just ignore all of Dormammu's patterns, almost all of Dormammu's patterns, and just face tank, which is really, really nice for newer players. So because of all that, I think he deserves to be S tier. Plus the fact that you can always switch him, right? You can always say, you know what? I actually want to use my Hulk for PvP now. He's not going to be as good for PvP as PvE, but he's certainly still very, very good. Much like Jean. I would actually put Jean behind Hulk, however, because she's a little bit harder to play, although there's a lot of spam involved. Her builds are, you can still swap her, but they're not as flexible when they swap. Like, she needs completely different builds, whereas Hulk can kind of get away with kind of like a hybrid. She's also fallen off for PvP. I still think she's probably more relevant for PvP than Hulk, but she has fewer days. Does she have fewer days for ABX, ABL? than Hulk, maybe. Faster for GBR, but has the fewest, I think the fewest or the second fewest world boss stages, so you can't really use her that often for world boss. So yeah, call me crazy. Oh, plus the cost, right? If we're going to consider the cost, then yeah, she's stupidly expensive because of that. Luna, probably S tier, tier 4 as well. Just insanely good return on investment. Probably the best return on investment of any character because of all those ABX, ABL stages. I've said this a lot in recent videos, so I'm not going to harp too much on it, but it is what it is. I also think Ghost Rider deserves to be S tier again because of that hybrid ability. Unfortunately, we do have 2 seasonal uniforms here. I know how cringe that looks. But yeah, Ghost Rider, much like Hulk, can kind of almost play a hybrid role for your account where with a Judgment or a Rage, he can actually still do PvP. With a Greed, he does PvP very effectively. He just needs the artifact. And it's quite nice. Adam, I would probably put Adam in high B tier, low A tier. Yeah, he just doesn't have enough for PvE to justify his sliding PvP value. He still has PvP value for sure, but it is absolutely sliding at this point. And I do think that this tier list in particular is a bit biased towards PvE right now. But when the big PvP hitters come in, then it'll kind of make more sense. Sentry, very expensive tier 4, but insane for PvP. He can basically carry you. I almost want to rank him lower because he's so strong as a tier 3. If you just want to use him as an option for PvP, that you almost don't need to tier 4 him, but then you're going to want to tier 4 him because he's just so strong and so consistent. Silver Surfer, same sort of thing, just insane for PvP. It's difficult. It's very difficult to rank PvP characters next to PvE characters because it looks so ridiculous. Like Silver Surfer would literally run laps around Magneto in PvP. But then on the flip side, Magneto is just so much more valuable for PvE, right? So I think this is a fair ranking. Silver Surfer is a more expensive character. Actually, in some ways, he's cheaper than Magneto. And this is a seasonal uniform for Magneto. But okay, I think this is fair as is. Beta Ray Bill. I actually really like Beta Ray Bill. He's really, really strong for World Boss. And then he's a leadership. He's a self-lead. He blows up GBR. And he is a support as well. So yeah, basically everything Mystique is plus way more. So I actually think he brings a lot more overall value to your account than even someone like Adam does. And he's cheaper. Not a lot cheaper, but he is cheaper. Madeline is worse than Adam, so I'm going to put her there. Just kind of disappointing. Just honestly kind of disappointing. Ebony, also pretty disappointing. He's a support, which is cool. But yeah, there are just characters that do it a lot better than he does. Yeah, I don't know if I'd say he's more consistent than Reed. He certainly has a lower ceiling than Reed, but I think at a low investment, he's better than Reed. So it's a bit tricky. Depending on whether you're talking about low investment or high investment. Echo, ooh, same kind of situation here. I'm now realizing that this is probably getting way too crowded here in the D tier, so I actually think I need to move these guys down. Yeah, I think this makes more sense here because it's just way too crowded. And there's just such a gigantic chasm between a character like Ebony and a character like Professor X. There's just a massive chasm between the two of them. It doesn't make sense to have them ranked that way. Captain America. Yeah, I think he's got to go in D tier as well. These are just kind of like outdated tier 4s by today's standards. I think also Black Widow needs to go there. I'm trying to rank them within the tier as well. But yeah, I mean, I think Black Widow could still do some cheeky stuff for AC and maybe once in a blue moon for Otherworld Battle, although I haven't seen them in Otherworld Battle. At this point, like, I'm thinking about it. If you don't see a tier 4 character being used by top players in Otherworld Battle, and you don't see them anywhere else in PvE, yeah, it's kind of D tier technology. It's D tier tech because there's nowhere else, right? There's just AC, and you can't tell me that the character deserves to be C tier or B tier because of AC. There's just no way. Just one game mode is just not enough, right? It's just frankly not enough. Carnage is still pulling his weight for sure. I would honestly put him in high B tier. He's seeing a huge resurgence because of the symbiote love in Otherworld Battle, but he's still often used, I'd say alongside Madeline, he's often used when the rest of the big metas are banned. But he just has more synergies than Madeline does, so he gets away with a little bit more here. Gamora, still good. There's just better options for sure. I would probably put her. She hits really hard. She hits really hard for PvE. but I would probably put her in C tier. Does that make sense? Given where everybody else is, maybe she deserves to be in B tier. B tier is going to end up being really crowded because it's sort of like where the runts go that are not quite good enough to make that leap, but are not bad. Thanos. So Thanos is two characters here. You got to think of Farmer Thanos, and you got to think of this King Thanos. I think when you count both, I think he's very good because he gives you a lot of flexibility for PvE and PvP. But he's also not best at any of them. So you sort of have a tricky situation. I think putting him there, maybe there, makes sense. But it is also too uniform. In terms of value, I'd probably put him here. In terms of overall performance on your account, he probably goes here. Okay, if that makes sense. So to sort of hedge, I'll put him there. But yeah, it's very, very expensive. You're talking about a seasonal uniform and then another uniform on top of that. So you're talking about like well over 3,000, almost 4,000 crystals just for that. Plus you got to go unlock him, yada, yada, yada. Dr. Octopus, I'm kind of low on Dr. Octopus at this point. I'm going to be honest with you. I'm going to put him here. And the reason for that is I know with a top build, he can score higher than Hulk or whatever, as good, whatever you want to say. But the thing is, he's hard to play. He's very hard to play. He's annoying to play. He's not annoying to play. He's hard to play. He's fun to play, but he's hard to play. And again, Hulk, I think, just does it better than him. Plus, he has no PvP value. This may be a little bit of an exaggeration. I'd probably put him somewhere like here, maybe. But yeah. And he doesn't, like, you can play him with a proc, but it's painful. It's painful. He doesn't really have as much flexibility. So that kind of sucks. Thor is quite good. I really like him as a tier 4, but he's just not that useful. So I think he probably deserves to go somewhere there in that sort of realm of character. Quicksilver is pretty solid, but he just doesn't have a lot of game modes where he's solid. It's mostly just AC with a little bit of otherworld battle. I really want to rank him higher than C tier. I really, really do. I think if I'm being generous, I could put him low B tier, but honestly, I'm being generous. Scarlet Witch is very good tier 4, expensive, but very good, easy to play, fun to play, and very useful for a lot of content. I would say she probably needs to go somewhere like right there. That makes sense. Cable has recently slipped, so I would probably put him high B tier. Yeah. Ahead of Adam, behind Adam. Tough call here. I'd put him ahead of Adam. Captain Marvel, same sort of thing. Doesn't have as much hybrid value as we would have hoped. I think Captain Marvel probably deserves to be somewhere around Thor's level. I'm a bit biased to the downside for Captain Marvel. I know she gets a large bump at tier 4, but I'm just not the biggest fan of hers. Doctor Strange, there's just better characters. I'm just going to get this out of the way. I'm a huge Doctor Strange fan, but there's just better characters that do it better than him. He probably deserves to be somewhere around here. Doom, very disappointing. I want to put him in D tier, but I can't. I think this is he's honestly a little bit better than Quicksilver, so I think he's kind of deserves to be here, but he's not even as consistent as Madeline and Carnage, which is insane because those uniforms are like, well, Madeline's only 6 months old, but Carnage is like, what, 2 years old almost? Star-Lord sucks. I hate him. There are just better options. He does have the alien tag, and he does have extra supports, but yeah. Storm is still pretty good because she's also a support. But there are better options than her. I would normally put her here, but because she's a support, I'm gonna bump her up a little bit because she's a very good support. 55% elemental damage is absolutely disgusting. Psylocke, very good, easy to play, fun to play. She checks all of those boxes. She's not available for that much content, but I would say she probably deserves to be around Thanos Gladiator level. Easier to play than Gladiator. Maybe I'm overvaluing Gladiator. Okay, let me know what you guys think about that. I think that actually looks better, makes more sense in my mind. Wolverine's S tier, and I won't explain. I mean, I will explain. He's just insane for PvP, and now with this new uniform, he's also very, very strong for PvE. So unfortunately, like, despite being an expensive character because of the Epic Quest, he's very, very good and very, very flexible. Doesn't have as much flexibility as someone like Hulk, where you can kind of ride the same build, but almost, which is scary good. Venom is D tier. It's gotta be. There's just better options at this point. Rogue took a bump, so I'd probably put her, but she's still the best farmer, so I'd probably put her high B tier. Namor, Namor is gotta be C tier. He's not bad, but there's just better options for what he does. He still has the team buff for something like Dispatch, which is nice. Loki, I don't like, but he is best for one thing for ABL. So you kind of have to justify based on that. But honestly, I would put him where Doom is, because he's not good for anything else. He's literally not good for anything else. Just ABL and ABX, and that's it. And it's not that many days, and he needs a max build. It's very, very awkward. Spider-Gwen, I think, is a bit overvalued, but I still think she's pretty good. I'm going to move Mystique back. Yeah, that makes sense. I would think she probably goes with Dr. Octopus at this point. Sharon is good, but she's only really useful for World Boss, so I think she's actually kind of like a low-value tier 4. She hits very hard, though, so for players who are climbing, it's much more attractive. Hela is a great support, but she is a bit disappointing in PvP. So but she is used a lot when the metas are banned. So I'd probably put her around that level, and she's actually pretty good for PvE as well. I actually put her ahead of Reed. Maybe Reed's a little bit too high. Maybe that makes more sense. Odin at this point, very good, but there are better options than Odin, so I'd probably put him down in C tier, unfortunately. But he is still, like, he just hits really hard. He's just not useful for that much content. Black Bolt, I still really like, but there are absolutely better options at this point. He's like Namor in a lot of ways, but he's very, very fun to play. So I think being fun to play kind of gives him a bump up here. So maybe it's going to look something like that. And then Deadpool. Deadpool has the value of being... I gotta move my camera here. He's got the value of being a hybrid character, which is very, very nice. He's solid enough for PvP. He needs a heavy investment, and he's good enough for PvE. I would probably put him somewhere around there. Yeah. So I think that's where the tier list shakes out. I did this all off the cuff. I didn't practice this ahead of time, so there may be a couple of mistakes, but that's what you guys are here for. So yeah, hit me up in the comments down below. Let me know what you think of this tier list. This is 56 tier 4s, all ranked by a guy who only has 59% of them. Hit me up in the comments down below. Let me know what you think. Thank you so much for watching the video. Go do that community event to get those juicy 30 carbos, and I'll see you in the next one. Take care.